Steve's New Neighbors, The Wither Skeleton King, Book 6, One Last Battle, by Mark Mulle, narrated by David Vandermolen. Disclaimer. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are either the products of the author's imagination or used in fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Day 1. Welcome back, my friends. Once again, this is the Great Steve bringing you tales from the War of the South Meadow. I'm sure that many of you have been wondering what has happened since our rescue of the enslaved witches and blacksmiths from the dangers of the Nether fortress and the Wither skeleton. The best that I can do is describe to you the sheer panic that has filled the village in the hours since we discovered the note from the Wither skeleton. Settling all of the excess villagers and witches into their new living accommodations was the least of our worries. After the frightening conditions in which they had been forced to endure in the Nether, our new residents were more than pleased with whatever safety we could provide them. They were also very impressed by the collection of iron golems that had been built within our borders. Of course, many of them were afraid at first. However, after being presented with a beautiful poppy by one of the gentle giants, they soon fell in love with the enormous creatures. It was the rest of the village that seemed as if a hush had fallen over every home, every person, even the animals. The village had celebrated our return. They welcomed our new guests with open arms. They even offered jobs and supplies to those who were willing. Despite all of that, there was still the knowledge that there was more to come. Our return had resulted in a very angry Wither skeleton. Very angry indeed. I know that it would be impossible, but somehow it felt as if the skeleton was watching us at every waking moment. He was nowhere to be seen. The meadow was clear and open, but we still felt his presence among us. Day 2. After the initial celebration was finished, we all tried to refocus our energy into preparing the village for the upcoming attack. I began to realize that the strength and height of our formidable wall would not be enough to prevent the onslaught of the Wither skeleton's army. We would not be able to keep the enemy out forever. Eventually, they would manage to find a way to enter. Or, I shuddered to think about the other option, we might have to leave the safety of the village to drive them away. Even the strength of the iron golems would soon be overrun by the amount of attackers that the village would be forced to face. Initially, our plan had been to release the golems alone outside of the village and command them to wreak havoc on the approaching army so as to weaken them before they reached the village. I now began to realize that this plan might not be our best course of action. Instead, I set about convincing Alex that the golems should remain within the village boundaries as a last line of defense. That way, they could protect those that were too young or old to fight. Though she agreed, neither of us could formulate a plan that would help us to destroy the army that we knew would come. We did not know when. We did not know how. We only knew, with unfailing certainty, that their ultimate goal was to destroy our village and everyone that lived there. The South Meadow village, the last standing defense of this portion of the overworld against a terrorizing army. If we were defeated, the army would be free to move on to other lands and destroy them as well. What we needed, I realized with a sigh of defeat, were more adventurers, more warriors, more individuals who could fight without the fear of a prolonged respawn. But they were nowhere to be found. Every adventurer, every monster, every living creature, it seemed, had abandoned our meadow. It was as if the scent of doom hung over our village. Even the animals had left for safer grounds. It was fortunate, then, that we had established fully stocked and functional farms within our protective walls that would keep the villagers fed and strong throughout the attack. Despite our healthy preparations, few of the villagers had progressed to true warrior status. We had amassed, perhaps, a dozen skilled archers and an equal amount of formidable swordsmen. All of the others were mediocre at best. Their successes lay more on the chance of luck
Sample complete. Ready to continue?